All right, Adam, we were rolling.
All right, here we go.
So I was interested in your story because you work in law enforcement
Mhm.
and you are also a fishing guide.
Yeah, man.
I want to start with at what point in your life did you know you wanted to get into law enforcement?
I didn't really have a plan. I got out of the Marine Corps, wasn't really doing anything. My wife and I moved back here. Needed a job. There was an opening, put in for it, and 9 years later, I'm still there.
Okay, and you said you came back here. So where did you moved away at some point? For
Yeah.
an
We
extended amount of
my
time?
wife was finishing up school down in Florida, so we went down there for her to finish up school, and came back here.
I'm surprised you came back.
I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to.
Yeah, what part of Florida?
We were down in Palm Beach.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, our living arrangement kind of got a little messed up, and we had nowhere to live.
Yeah.
We were living with some friends. I think it was her friend's family's house. They wanted to move back up to the Northeast. We did not want to. So it was kind of like hey, you don't got to leave, but you can't stay here.
Mm-hmm.
So we called up some friends in Wilmington, and they had a spare bedroom.
Okay.
And they said, come on.
What type of fishing did you do down there when you were down there?
I didn't have a boat, didn't have a kayak, anything like that, because I had nowhere to put it. I actually couldn't even have my truck in the neighborhood, so I was doing a lot of bank fishing, pier fishing, really a lot of bass fishing. Hitting those ponds, hitting the channels and the canals, just doing what I could, sneaking into the golf courses.
Yeah, I'm jealous of the Florida boys, man. I follow a lot of guys down there, and just thinking about the snook and the tarpon and
Yeah.
bonefish. I mean, depending on where you're at, you have access to so many more fish than we have here in North Carolina.
Yeah, man.
So you moved back, and you're like, I'm going to get into law enforcement.
Yeah. It seemed like a good fit getting out of the military, kind of, easy transition. So I didn't have any long-term goals of staying there. I had 5 years I wanted to be out, finish school, but life kind of had different plans for my wife and I.
Is that 5 years in the military?
No, 5 years in law enforcement. So that would have
Okay.
put me 4 years in the military, 5 years in law enforcement, and then, see where life takes us. And life had other plans.
What did you do in the military?
I was infantry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess that transitioned you well into law enforcement there.
Yeah, it was an easy transition.
Okay.
Kind of goes hand in hand a little bit.
Where do you work at now with law enforcement?
I work up on Lejeune still.
Okay.
Yeah. They, back in, 2005, they brought on mostly all civilian police officers when the Marines were deploying. So.
Okay. So you originally had planned on 5 years, and you said life happened, and here you are. So what's the story there?
Kids.
Yeah.
Kids. Yep.
The long calls and kids.
Yeah. We had our first one.
Okay.
We were going for number 2 and wound up with 2, 3, and 4. So the triplets. Yeah. And our oldest was only 22 months.
Oh my Lord, dude.
Yeah. So we had 4 kids under 2, and they were born 2 days after Hurricane Florence.
Woo.
Yep.
Yeah. No wonder you, every time I talk to you, you've got something crazy going on.
Yeah.
Getting pulled in so many directions there.
Yeah, man. It's tough, but we make it work.
So the plan was to work for 5 years and then get out, and then you wanted to guide at that point, or?
I've been wanting to do it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Life just kind of kept putting everything on pause and putting everything kind of backwards a little bit. And about 2.5, 3 years ago, I was finally able to, start making those steps that I've been trying to do, for the past 7, 8 years.
And I know that there's going to be some challenges when you're trying to get started in a new area like that. What are the steps? What was step 1?
Step 1, getting your captain's license. And that was a challenge in itself, just because family, trying to work and do all that stuff. And I was going to school at the time. And then when the kids came, after Florence, I had to put that on the back burner. But doing that, there's a lot more in it than I thought there was going to be. Just trying to figure everything out, talking with other guides, talking with other small business owners, seeing how, to really get the ball rolling. And it was just kind of like a tornado of everything all at once.
At that point, had you already gotten your captain's license, or was that a part of that?
So I got my captain's license about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Started guiding last year. I wanted to get everything set up, insurance, and, go about it the right way.
Yeah, that's one thing people don't understand is, yeah, you get to fish for a living, quote unquote, but It is expensive.
It is.
And you have to be able to afford the first 6 months of not making much money in order to get established.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. You know, you need to have all the gear, you know, insurance, like I said, that's not cheap. You know, and just out there all the time. So, you know, you're burning a lot of money, you know, up front before it starts coming in, but it still feels like more goes out than comes in sometimes.
Yeah. And the insurance, is that like liability insurance?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd have to look back at my policy to, you know, for the numbers to see what I got, but I know it's a lot heftier than what it was when it was just a recreational boat.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the other challenges other than just cost up front?
Marketing, you know, the social media game. I didn't realize how important that was. You know, there's guys that have a lot wrapped up in it, you know, a lot more technology than, you know, like all this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're out there grinding, you know, 7 days a week. But there's a lot that goes into it. You know, the social media is big. Trying to build a website. I tried doing that myself. Had to go back and get some help. But really, you know, just trying to build that social media platform, get your name out there.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to real estate. It's exactly what you're saying. I had to get my real estate license. I've got to start from scratch. I've got to figure out the social media game. I've got to start getting a following. I've got to get clients. It is exactly like real estate, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, you're just grinding 7 days a week.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you have the other career and then the kids.
Yeah.
So if you think about the last 6 months, what are some of the areas of just success that you've experienced in this transition?
Well, the biggest thing that I learned was, you know, I'll go out and fish by myself, you know, with you, with some buddies, and it's a whole different ball game as a guide. You know, not everybody has that level of, you know, experience or expertise that we have. So you got to basically start baby steps every single time. Even if they say they're experienced, you don't know to what degree. So that was one of the toughest things that, you know, a hurdle I had to get over when I first started last year. You know, not everybody can go out there, throw topwater, work, you know, soft plastics, you know, finesse baits like that. So you got to really just do it plain Jane sometimes.
Do you find it easier at a lower tide or a higher tide?
I like a mid tide, honestly. You know, when those fish are really moving in and out.
Mm-hmm.
No, not yesterday. Tuesday, with that negative low, it was really tough at that slack negative low tide, and then once that water started moving, I mean, it just turned on like that. I had 3 adults, 2 kids. The dad just really wanted to get the kids on some redfish. So once that tide started moving, we had to bounce around a lot, hit a bunch of different spots until we could, you know, find where they were hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Broke a few off on top water, lost a couple on Carolina rigs, and were able to connect on a few overslots. So those kids were happy about that.
Oh yeah, I bet, man. Yeah, that's not something I would have thought about. Is I don't think about the fact that I physically have to be able to go do this every day, just because we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
But you take somebody that's 10 years old, they may not be able to throw a popping cork.
Nope.
You know, like I wouldn't have thought about that if you hadn't have said that.
Yeah, that is actually one that I keep tied up all year, because that is what I've learned is one of the easiest things for people to work. It's a little hard to cast, but once they get that down, it's one of the easiest lures that, you know, anybody can work, and it's really, you know, put a lot of fish in the boat for me.
So if you prefer taking people out on a mid tide, what would be I guess the strategy depends on the time of day.
You know, my first trips usually start at 7. You know, I got to go with the time. You know, I can't really necessarily, you know, pick the tide. Because if you were trying to pick your favorite tide, you'd never be out there.
Yeah.
But really, you just got to be out there knowing where the fish are, you know, at what tide, you know, where they're pushing up, where they're kind of hanging out. You know, I've got a few spots that, whether it's a high tide or a low tide, they're still kind of there. You know, they might be within, you know, 30, 40 yards, but they're still hanging out in that general area.
That's nice to just have enough in your arsenal to be able to call an audible. How often do you make a plan at the ramp and then all of a sudden you're on the way and things change?
Every day. Yeah, every day.
Yeah.
Yep. Every day, man.
Would you say that you have improved as a fisherman because of this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So on, like, for example, we were talking a little bit about you're going tomorrow. How does that change knowing that you've taken these clients these days and now tomorrow I'm going to go fishing?
I'm excited because I don't really get out there by myself a lot, especially during the summertime. When we're booked up every single day, or for me, it's every day I'm off. So I can guide anywhere between 2 and 5, 6 days a week because of my schedule up there. But I'm excited. I'm going to put the Pathfinder up and I'm going to take out the skiff tomorrow. I think it's a low tide early in the morning, so I'm going to slide out pretty early, about sunrise, and push into some shallow bays, see if I can find some belly crawlers.
So that leads me to what type of boats that you're running?
So I'm running a 22-foot Pathfinder, and then I've also got a 17-foot Beavertail B2 poling skiff, which I just got that back in March. I was lucky enough to be in a position where I could pick up a second boat.
The Pathfinder, is that what would be that's tailored to what style of fishing more so than the Beavertail?
So the Pathfinder is great, man. It's really versatile. I can go off the beach. I can run 20, 30 miles out with it on a calm day, but I can also fish, pretty shallow water. So if I've got 3, 4, 5, 6 people, I try to keep it about 5. I could take a whole family out and go out and do some live bait fishing. It's a little bit more comfortable for the kids. I got a couple coolers on there, listen to some music. It's kind of just a kickback, hit the bays on a higher tide, cruise around, pick up some fish. It's a versatile boat compared to the poling skiff.
So if you're taking out a family and you have 5 or 6 people, are you going to focus more on deeper areas that are maybe structure oriented?
It depends, man. Really depends on the time of year. Depends on the weather. If it's if it's blowing 30 miles an hour like it was, early spring, you got to try to tuck up. Get them out of the wind, out of the weather. Try to make it as enjoyable for them as you possibly can, because you can't control the weather.
Is that how often is that an issue with a scheduled trip?
Haven't really had an issue in the past month or so, but earlier in the spring, like, around April, when it just felt like the wind would not stop blowing, you got clients out there that you can tell they're trying to grind through it, and you're doing what you can to make sure that they have a good time. But you're still trying to get them on fish. So sometimes you got to find that balance, because you don't want them to be out there suffering.
Yeah. What is that feeling like after you grinded for 3, 4, 5 hours and they get their first one?
Man, it's a struggle sometimes,
Yeah.
It's a little nerve wracking, because sometimes you're on the phone, hitting up your buddies. Hey man, where are you finding the fish? You guys having luck up there? So, you're networking, trying to find out, where they're hitting at certain times if you're not on them. But it's stressful.
Yeah.
But I can usually put it together.
Have you found that the other guides in the area are welcoming to you getting started?
Everybody's got their own little, small network, 4 or 5 people that they talk to. I've got 2 or 3, close buddies that I talk with. Not all of them are guides. But you got to have a small network, because, it's hard to cover water from North Topsail all the way down to Wrightsville Beach. Because, most of the time I'm running out of Topsail area, and I've got a few trips lined up in the coming weeks down in Wrightsville Beach. So I'm going to have to switch gears and, hit down there. But, it's tough to be able to cover, 60 miles of water.
Yeah, and you throw in another 20 down to Fort Fisher. It's
Yep.
like, and that's how I feel. I've been here fishing consistently for a couple of years now, and I still don't think I've touched 70% of the water.
No.
And I find myself, you may see the videos, people watching may see the videos, they see, oh, he caught fish. Well, what you don't see is the 2 days that I didn't catch fish.
Yep.
And it's tough to put yourself in that position to say, okay, today I'm going to go to new areas.
Yeah.
Today I'm going to explore.
Yeah, because you get comfortable. You find, 3 or 4 schools of fish, and you kind of stay in that area. But you got to force yourself to break out of those comfort zones and explore new spots, new areas. Especially with gas prices right now.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to have to run 40 miles on the water, burning almost $6 a gallon.
Yeah, that would be what, the equivalent to 8 gallons of gas.
Something like that.
$50 right there. You're burning.
Yep.
Yeah. How do you force yourself to find new areas? What is your tactic there?
Google Earth, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm on my phone constantly looking at Google Earth. What I'll do sometimes is I'll look at my phone, look at Google Earth and say, okay, today I'm fishing from here to here. Just pick 2 zones and just completely cover, that whole area.
Do the fish often show up in where you think they're going to be, or do they surprise you?
Oh man, they got fins, not homes.
Yeah.
So I've caught redfish in areas where I didn't expect it. I've caught black drum in areas I didn't expect it. I've been out red fishing before and hooked up on some big trout.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Could you see the trout, or was it deeper water?
It was actually really shallow, but I was sitting off the bank pretty far, casting top water because I knew there were some drum in there. But trying not to spook them, just casting as far as you possibly can, and then all of a sudden a trout comes up and slams it. Weren't expecting that in 1.5 feet of water.
I've never caught one in that shallow water.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So I'm fascinated by the whole guide story. What can someone expect if they're trying to make that same transition that you did from having a full-time career to taking on this new area, this new dream per se?
Work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, especially when you got a family to provide for. There's no days off, especially, if you're trying to make that transition and have it, be your full-time gig. It's stressful, and not gonna lie, it's scary. I haven't made that jump yet, but I'm hoping to next year. Waiting for my kids to get in kindergarten. So hopefully by next year I can make that jump, but it's not a guaranteed paycheck. You're working 7 days a week to try to book clients, and it's not guaranteed. So it's scary to think about leaving a guaranteed paycheck.
Yeah, I feel like the trade-off though is being able to appreciate the freedom that comes with when you are out on the water and the decisions you get to make, and if your client catches fish, it's because of what you decided.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the work that you put in.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you love about guiding from that perspective?
I just love putting people on fish, especially their first time. Cause I was a young kid when I started fishing. My dad didn't bring me out or anything. I just wanted to do it. Then, once I got my license, I'd drive around, hit some ponds that I could get to from the bank. And then once I finally got a boat, started bringing friends out, I was like, man, this is awesome. Being able to bring people out and watch them catch fish and see how happy it makes them. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
Until you get somebody new doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've struggled with is sometimes it can be monotonous. If you fish 3 days this week, you're not thinking about, oh man, this is beautiful today.
Yeah.
I have to force myself to stop and say, okay, this is special to be able to get out here and do this, or to live in this area where we have access to this.
Yep.
Because there's not many places on our coast where you can go up in a marsh system and find 20, 30 fish.
Yeah.
Just feeding actively.
Yep.
Like we're very lucky with where we live.
Yeah. One of the things I've noticed too, especially with families on the boat, we see them every day. We don't really pay much mind to them, especially if we're fishing. You see a pot of dolphins come in, you're like, oh man, well there goes that, let's move. But people that don't get to see that stuff, people that don't live on the coast, that's something that they might not be able to see again, or it might be 5, 6, 7 years before they get to come back here and see something like that. So we take it for granted a lot, being able to get out there every day, whether you're off the beach, inshore, or just kicking back on the sandbar. Mm-hmm. Not everybody gets to do that. We definitely live in a great area for it.
First off, I want to say thank you for calling them dolphins, because it drives me insane when people call them porpoises, because we don't have porpoises in North Carolina. They're only on the other side of the country. So thank you for calling them dolphins. They're bottlenose dolphins. Thank you. But I understand what you're saying, because me and Lex were sea duck hunting this year.
Yeah.
And I'm looking off in the distance. I'm like, oh, is that a kayaker? What is that? And I stopped looking. I look up. It's not there anymore. I'm like, that's weird. What is that? few minutes goes by and I hear, I'm like, what? Is that a whale, dude? Is there a whale out here? I've never seen one out there. And like all of a sudden, like I see this humpback just come out of the water, and he shoots water 20 feet in the air out of his blowhole. And I'm like, we're jacked up. Like, that's exactly what you're describing with the dolphins for people.
Yeah.
And I was a kid that day, and that's the only time I've been out there and seen a whale in person. And there was 2 or 3 just passing through that day.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. So there is a lot to be said about just taking the time to appreciate the little things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how often do you look up and see a heron on the side of the bank, and then he grabs a fish that's swimming by? Like we
see it every day.
We get to see it all the time.
Yep.
So that is very important, and something we should take the time to appreciate more so.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, man, you were out sea duck hunting. There's not a lot of places where, you can go out sea duck hunt, puddle duck hunt. If we get a really cold winter and they push down into the marsh, but we can go out there, shoot ducks and catch trout at the same time.
Yeah, old cast and blast.
Yep, that's right.
I tried it this past year. I did not have very good luck duck hunting in the marsh.
No, I think the last good year I had duck hunting in the marsh, it was 2017 when we got a freeze.
Freeze changed my life.
Yeah, we shot some widgeon, some gadwall, saw some black ducks and mallards, but I still got a couple ducks at a taxidermist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother story in itself.
I was gonna say, man, that freeze, man, it was the places that I hunt. We had such strong northeast winds that it sucked all of the water out.
Yeah,
and it was sand where I hunt.
Yep.
And then our duck blind was 20 yards from where the water started, so every blind on the area that I hunt was dry except for ours. So we murdered them, man.
Yep.
It was like the hunting channel. It ruined me.
Yeah, and then you think, oh man, next year's going to be great.
Yeah, it hasn't been like that since.
And then it's 50 degrees, and there's no birds.
Yeah, and southwest winds and waist high water where they can't even feed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm hoping, I'm hoping to do some duck hunting out of the B2 this year.
Oh, okay.
I got my dog back from the trainer. He was at the trainer for a few months, so trying to keep him, amped up for it, and keep him sharp on it.
Well, he'll have an opportunity to get some mergansers.
That's
Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Knock them things out of the sky.
Yeah, make some dog treats for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, you do plan on doing duck hunts then?
By myself, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or take somebody out, take a buddy out. If we get a good freeze, good push of birds, I'd like to get him out there, just get him on some birds. I don't even care what. I just like seeing them work.
Mm-hmm.
Got him back in February, so the season had just closed when I got him back.
What kind of dog do you have?
He's a black lab.
Yep. I'm a lab fan, man.
Yep.
You know that.
I got 2. Daisy, she's 8. I trained her, back when she was a pup, but she's got some health issues, so she's got a few retrieves under her belt, but she hasn't hunted in, I don't know, man, probably about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, my first lab, I didn't get to duck hunt much. It's tough, man. I moved to Wilmington and the hunting kind of faded.
Mm-hmm.
And then I picked up the saltwater fishing. I really didn't saltwater fish before that. So that transition was, okay, this kind of takes over the hunting side of things because, like, I love to hunt fish. That's really what we're doing here.
Yep, absolutely. And we can do it, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Yeah, I do miss it, though. With my chocolate, I didn't really duck hunt much at all.
Yeah.
Hopefully with the yellow lab that I have now, he'll be 11 weeks in 2 days. So.
Nice. Oh, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. So, dude, I haven't slept.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's waking up all hours of the night, and which you've gone through that too. But it's something special about having a puppy, man.
There is.
Yeah.
There really is. Especially a lab. I'm partial to them. I think they're the best dogs in the world.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm a huge fan. I love their energy. Just the desire and taking them on the boat, man, they just are naturally acclimated to their time out there.
Yeah, they love it. They love it. Daisy, with her health issues, she doesn't really like getting out there anymore. As she gets older, she just kind of wants to kick back on the couch.
Is it joint related?
No, she was having seizures. She had a tumor that we had to get removed. We think she came from a puppy mill up in Jacksonville back around 2014. 13 or 14, something like that. So she just had a lot of issues throughout her life. Older she gets, I mean, she still has the energy, but we try to keep her, a little calmed down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, good for y'all for taking care of her. They're your family.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. This is a soft spot for someone like that in your family that comes along that just loves you unconditionally, man. You got to look out for them.
Yep.
So moving forward from here, what is your plan for the guide business other than just continuing doing what you're doing?
I don't know, man. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Keep grinding, trying to build it so that I can leave the the law enforcement and be a full time. Like I said, I can guide about anywhere between 2, 3, 5, 6 days a week. But I'd like to be able to do it every day.
Mm-hmm. You think there's a benefit to being out there every day versus 2, 3 days a week?
Absolutely.
Just being able to follow the fish.
Yeah. I've noticed that, especially in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Spring, summer, fall, it's easy to stay on them because you can kind of generally know where they're going to be. But wintertime, it's it definitely pays to be out there every single day.
Do you find the fish will just completely leave an area, or is it more so they migrate a few hundred yards a day?
This past winter, I found a few good schools, about 3 or 4, and fished them for a couple weeks. Rotating back and forth. Leaving them alone for a few days and going back, picking off one, and then after about 2, 3 weeks, they're just gone, vanished.
I wonder why that is.
I'm not sure.
If it's like dolphin pressure or people pressure.
Well, there was one school that I was on, and I had just left fishing them. They were in a channel, and I heard another boat coming. I think they had a mud motor. I don't know if they were scouting for ducks or what. I don't know why, because it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, and they came through, as fast as they could get that hand till they're going through the marsh, and they ran right over the top of that. It was a big school of fish, man, probably about 200. And I went back in there the next day, and I scouted that entire area.
Gone.
They were gone.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I found one redfish floating up in the grass. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they caught him and gut hooked him and just let him go, but I mean, he was a slot-sized fish, or if you broke him off, I don't know. But that happened a few times.
Yeah.
Big schools of reds in the wintertime, they don't stay secrets for long.
Yeah. Especially with like drones and everything now.
Yeah.
People have access like they never have before.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping that having that skiff, though, changes it, because it is hard getting that big Pathfinder into some of the real skinny waters. Some of the schools, they're in deeper bays, but getting to them, I can't always get that big bay boat back in there. So I'm hoping that the B2, that beaver tail, kind of changes it up.
Do you often find yourself sight casting these fish, or do you fish them just because of you think they're in this area?
In the wintertime? Yeah, I mean, wintertime, there's a lot of sight casting. I felt like this past winter, it was windy. It just felt like it didn't stop blowing.
Yeah.
It makes it hard to see them. But if you know they're in a general area, you can kind of blind cast a little bit. But there's nothing like sight casting a big school of redfish, man. Yeah. It's awesome.
I haven't done it in a long time. It's I've gone a few times, and they just haven't been where I've seen them in the past.
Yeah.
So it's just like you're saying, I need to spend more time scouting too.
Yeah. This winter was tough. I didn't get out as much as I would have liked. I hate the cold.
Yeah.
My knees don't like it anymore.
I'm getting old, man.
Yep. Yeah.
If you had it your way, would you ever get to a point where you would like to guide offshore trips too?
I don't know, man. That's a big money game. A lot of money wrapped up in gear, and I really don't do a whole lot of offshore. If I get a chance to jump on with a buddy and go do some bottom fishing, do some trolling, I'm not going to pass it up. But I don't get a chance to really get out there. I've only been out to the stream a couple times in the past, handful of years.
It's a long ways away.
It is.
From Wilmington, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have a great boat for what you're doing because, like you said, man, you can go 30 miles in that boat, no problem. If for whatever reason you wake up, the wind, there's no wind today, and then your clients are like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
That would probably be very exciting for me.
Yeah.
to just risk it and go.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple buddies. My buddy Joe, he runs a bay boat too, and he does almost all offshore. He puts a lot of mahi, grouper, stuff like that in a 20. I think he's got a 23-foot bay boat.
What is his name?
Joe Turley.
Okay, yeah. I think I follow him on Instagram.
Yep.
Yeah, he. I think that we followed each other this week, and I saw that he did really well a couple of days ago.
Yeah. He's one of the guys that'll run a bay boat out there. Usually where you don't see a whole lot of bay boats, but he's doing it, and he kills it.
Balls of steel, man.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, he knows the offshore game pretty well.
Yeah. Well, it's good having friends that are connected. Just like he can probably call you up and say, "Hey, man, I want to go catch some reds. Where should I go?"
Yep. Yeah, I was actually trying to get him out on the skiff tomorrow, but he's running a trip, and my clients for tomorrow, they ended up wanting to go offshore, deep, deep sea.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, man, that's cool.
Cool. Was there anything else that you'd like to add into the conversation about the guiding side of things and fishing in Wilmington area?
I mean, it's we get to do a dream job.
Yeah.
So hopefully, keep on with it. And, this past year, for redfish, I decided that, I'm doing I can't speak for everybody else, obviously, but for me, doing a 2-fish boat limit, per trip, because it's, we got to make sure that the fishery, we do our part on the recreational/guide side, because we can't point fingers, and then not take any responsibility for anything. Because I want my kids to be able to go out there and do it, when they're older. And I mean, I get them out there when I can now, but if they want to guide someday, follow my footsteps or whatever they want to do. But I want to make sure there's good fishery for my kids and their kids.
That's really noble of you, because, like we were saying earlier, North Carolina it's a very special place that in the southeast side of the state we do have the opportunity to catch schooling fish like that.
Yeah.
And like you said, the people that love it are the ones that have to take care of it.
Yep.
So, yeah, if everybody would implement at least some type of measure to at least be better toward the fish.
Yep. Well, I know, there's guides that do catch and release only. I don't like to do that because, these people are, our clients, they're paying good money to come out and, catch fish. They want to bring it home. But, two good 25, 26-inch redfish, they'll feed, they'll feed a family. Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking, a 25-inch red is what, 6-7 pounds?
Healthy, yeah.
Yeah, 8 pounds. Yeah, and you're going to leave with 5 pounds of meat probably.
You're leaving with a lot of meat. A 25-inch redfish should feed 4 people. Get 2 good fillets out of that. If you can take the throat meat out, take everything you can off of it. It'll feed a family.
That's one reason why you take something like Spanish mackerel, where they're abundant.
Yeah,
like that would be the fish to
really
rack up on if you're going to do it.
Absolutely, yeah. But, if they want to come home with a cooler full, go after Spanish, stuff like that.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, what's the name of your guide business?
Carolina Flats Fishing.
Yeah, and I'll speak for Adam. He's got some sick marketing.
I appreciate it, man.
And I'm going to link everything down below for people to give you a call and go on a guided trip.
Thank you.
But man, thank you so much for coming on, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. We'll do it again.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks.